Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Here we have Lenovo, a Chinese PC manufacturer who has very strong presence in its Chinese market. However, due to the shifting trend among the consumers from using PC to smartphones, the company is currently facing a crisis in terms of the decline in revenue. But before I go any further, let me introduce you to my teammates. Starting from my left-hand side, Chawisa, Pakapon, and Pimtida will present to you our first, second, and third analysis as well as strategic recommendations. And I, Wasin, will present to you the overview of the current situation of the company as well as the financial justification and the conclusion. So first of all, let's take a look at the overview of the company. So first, let's take a look at the first issue. So currently, as we know that the company is a manufacturer who mainly produces PC to support the PC industry, we can conclude that the company revenue profile currently relies heavily on the PC segment. And secondly, the company is facing a shift from the PC to the smartphones. And thirdly, the company is the largest supplier in the PC market. However, it has a very weak presence in terms of international market. So, where we want to be? First of all, we want to enhance our PC product in order to strengthen our main revenue profile, because 90% of our revenue is generated from the PC segment. And secondly, we want to enter into the smartphone industry in order to cater the new trends and the new customers, because we see to it that it is inevitable for the company to face the shift in trend. And thirdly, we want to be a PC supplier with strong brand presence, not just in domestic market, but also in an international market. So next, Chawisa will guide you through our first analysis.
Thank you, Wasim. Now let's take a look at Lenovo's revenue structure. 10% comes from non-PC and notebook products such as smartphone and TVs, and 90% comes from PC and notebooks. And currently, with the PC market, Lenovo had covered both the mature markets and the emerging markets in China. However, currently the company is trailing behind as more and more competitors are becoming competitive. And the company has spent over $1.3 billion on marketing and promotional activities. And even though they have spent this much cash on these activities, the brand remains mediocre. And currently, there's a shifting trend from the PCs and notebooks to the smartphones, and this causes a loss in the sales in the PCs as well. And finally, as I've mentioned before, strong competitors. And we believe that the company should address the PC issue. So in order to solve this, we propose to you recommendation 1. The objective of this strategy is we're going to be increasing our revenue stream of Lenovo's line of PCs and notebooks. So ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the concept of the intelligence home. So what this is a storage system where computers will, all the computers in the area will link to the system. Side note, this is only Lenovo computers. It will link to the storage system where the computers can share the files and also store the system outside of their of the drive in the computer. So it will be an external storage drive. So the computers that belongs to the owner does not have to store more space. They will be able to store this in an external storage system, and other computers can also have access to this file. And this will be a separate product from the computer, so we will be selling this as an external product which will be in form of like a compact disk drive. Our target customers will be families who wants to link their files together, and also offices, because offices have a lot of documents in which they need to pass on within the company. So therefore, this will be very convenient, as these files can be accessed immediately. So how are we going to be implementing this strategy? First, we're going to be producing a storage system. So this will be leveraging, we will be leveraging on the current technology that Lenovo already has. And we're going to be selling this as a separate product. And we're going to be, we believe that the main revenue will come from the offices that uses Lenovo computers. So with this recommendation, our customers will be able to store and also share information on an external hard drive. And we will also gain more customers, as customers will want to link all their computers with this system. And next, Hakapon will present to you our second analysis and recommendation.
Thank you, Shavisa. So every professional shooters know that in order to hit a moving target, they must not aim at the target itself, but aims at where it's going to be. And so this is the current PC, and the current revenue are 90% made up of the sales from PC. However, the smartphone segment are made up of only 10 revenue percent. But this is where we should aim for, where it's going to be. And so the rationale behind this is that first, over the years, the companies have been launching several smartphones and laptops. And so the non-PC notebook revenues grows by 130%. It is true that it only made up 10% of the total revenue, but it is clear that the trend is going for the smartphones. And so by looking at the company's intentions itself, we can see that first, Lenovo acquired MIDH, and then over the years they have decided to sell this MIDH away. And then in the end, they acquire MIDH again. So why are they doing this? It is clear that they need to tap into the smartphone sector. That smartphone is not it's something inevitable. And so lastly, the smartphone industry is growing. So we need to quickly get our feet into this sector. But first, let us take a look at in our company's perspective. So let's take a look at our advantage. First, we are capable of product designing and good functionality of the product. We have been the companies that are famous for innovative ideas. And not only that, our designers, our producers have proximity to the customers in the China itself. And so we are the one who know best about our locals. And so we believe that when launching a new smartphone into this market, we will be the one who will be able to cater best to these people. So we mainly have two options here. First, to launch a new smartphone under Lenovo itself, or to launch a new smartphone under what we have separated the Think business group. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to our second recommendation, our objective will be to launch a new smartphone under the Think business group. So why the Think business group? Why not Lenovo itself? We believe that Lenovo currently cater for a low-end product. They focus on selling a product in mass volume, and so the brand itself are not associated with a high-end image. And so we want to position this new brand to be a high-end product. So we will be launching what we call a Think Mobile. So first, we position ourselves to be a high-end product. We will leverage on our current technologies that we acquire throughout the years by acquiring several companies. And not only that, this new smartphone will be able to link with products from Lenovo. So that is to say that they will be linked through a system, through a cloud system. That is, whenever you buy this new smartphone, every product from Lenovo itself will be connected automatically. That is, all informations, all images, all videos will be connected. So how are we going to do this? So it is true that we already have that proximity with the customers in the China themselves, but still we need some marketing research. We need to know more about the customers. Then we'll be developing the product, and then launching them into the market. But first, we will start out by launching them as a flagship in the China market. And then this will have to come followed by a lot of marketing campaign to leverage to focus on our high-end image. But the main problems doesn't lies with just this shifting trend from PC and laptops into smartphone, but it comes with our marketing strategy as well. So next, Pimthida will tell you more about it.
Thank you, Pakapon. And now, since he has mentioned about the marketing strategy, let me further analyze onto the current marketing plans of Lenovo. Lenovo has spent a lot of fun on marketing and promotion itself by announcing the current spending of increase of $248, and this has turned out to be not effective enough, as the brand is still considered as the mediocre class and still lack of the brand recognition among the customers, even though they have a very high product quality and innovations. Also, recently, they have adopted the indirect channel models by acquiring the distributors, coupled with their current channels of distribution, which are the city malls, retail store, and local dealers. And we see that from all these current distribution channels, it makes the product of Lenovo not standing out when they're sitting in the shelf next to other brands. For example, if you walk into the shopping mall in the IT section and you see all these computers sitting next to each other, and you feel confused because it doesn't stand out. And also, the brand is not recognizable by the customer, and by having this type of distribution channel of having the local dealers and the shopping mall, they don't have existing like a customer service for a customer to have their computer fixed up or the maintenance and software upgrades. So we advise that Lenovo itself should create a more effective distribution channel for their products. And thus led us to our third recommendation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the Lenovo flagship store. The objective of this recommendation is to strengthen our brand presence through the better and more effective distribution channels. By having this flagship store, we'll enhance all the sales point, all the customer touch point, starting from selling to after selling. From selling, we'll have the Lenovo Center that allows customers to see all our products in one place. And this would also create opportunity of cross-selling, in which when customers come in the store and they see the computer, they may also induce by other types of Lenovo products. And info, we'll have the knowledgeable staff who will advise the customer throughout the transaction, because in the nature of IT transaction, when you buy the IT product, it is very difficult to get through all those IT information and data. Also, for the after-sale service, we'll have the customer service, the maintenance center that built in this flagship store. So whenever the customer have the problem with their Lenovo computer, they can come into this flagship store and have their computer fixed up, and they can also buy something for their computer as a complementary or add-on device. And the rationale for this recommendation is to create a better awareness among the customer mind, and also provide a full stop service center for customers. We also want to give customers a full brand experience for Lenovo. When they step into Lenovo Center, they will feel the brand experience of having Lenovo computer and getting knowledge about Lenovo products from the staff, and also gain the maintenance and care from our staff as well. And this would allow us the opportunity of cross-selling from our product and have customers know about our product better. And how are we going to do this? We are first going to set up this flagship store in the major city in China, starting from China and to otherwhere else in the world. And the criteria for setting up this flagship store. will be the revenue contribution of that area to Lenovo's sales revenue, and the customer exposure, whether this flagship store will be exposed to a lot of our existing customer and potential customer or not, and we'll consider the degree of competition as well. So now Mr. Wasin will guide you through our financial justifications.
Before we get to the financial justification, let me recap you on what we have been trying to achieve so far. So first, we want to improve we understand that most of the company's revenue come from the PC segment. So we want to make sure that we do not ignore this as we also try to shift into the smartphone. So we want to enhance our current PC revenue profile by introducing our enhanced PC products into the market. We want to capture the new trend, that is the smartphone segment, by introducing our new products in the smartphone segment by selling our smartphone products. And thirdly, we want to increase our presence in both domestic market and the international market by setting up a flagship store. So now let's take a look at the timeline and implementation. For our first recommendation, the research and development for the integral PC system will be done starting from the later half of this year to the first half of the year 2014. And for the marketing campaign, it will be started from the later half of the year 2013 together with the sale. For the second recommendation, the research and development for the smartphone devices will be done in the year 2014, and the marketing campaign will start at the first half of the year 2015, 6 months prior to the sale. For the third recommendation, the location finding and the setup for the flagship store will be done in the year 2014, and the operation as well as the construction will started from the first half of the year 2015. This is also together the smartphone products that we are trying to get into the market. So, with our recommendations, we believe that Lenovo will become much stronger. That is, it caters the shifting trend from the PC market to the smartphone market. But at the same time, it also doesn't ignore one of its main revenue, that is the PC market. And at the same time, it also strengthens its presence in both domestic market and international market in order to capture as much opportunity as possible and protect itself from its competitor. Thank you for your attention, and now the floor is open for Q&A.
So I have a question about branding. I understand that the flagship store is a good idea. It provides cross-selling opportunity. And the idea is to set up a store in major cities. So that's under Lenovo brand, right? And at the same time, you mentioned that Lenovo is not associated with high-end products. So the smartphone will be developed under Think. How do you see the role of the branding? Because if Lenovo is more specifically like targeting the low-end product markets, then how are you going to make use of the flagship store, which will be in major cities only? That's question one. And secondly, how are you going to leverage the flagship store for the Think line of smartphone development?
First question again. Could you please repeat the first question?
Let me rephrase the whole thing then. I think my question is about how you want to develop the branding, how you see the growth of the brand, because now it's a low-end brand under Lenovo. But then Lenovo will start flagship in major cities. So major cities people are more on the high end. And at the same time you have the brand under Think for smartphone, which is more on the high end. So I think the brand to me is like developing from one to another, but still struggling with different segments. So how do you go around with this development and the involvement of the brand under different lines?
First of all, our flagship store are mainly to cater the current Lenovo users, because we want to not just set it as a selling point, but we want to make sure that our current customers are also taken care of, so that they might have a stronger perception in terms of our brand, and it might create certain extent of brand loyalty. And at the same time, we see it as a marketing touch point in terms of just Lenovo and in the mass market. When we think about the Think product, like the product from the brand Think, we see to it that we don't want to mix them together. We want to create it as an entirely separated band in order to not blur make the perception blurry in terms of which one is high end and which one is low end. So we want the flagship store will be catered just to Lenovo, and it might be the new flagship store for Think.
And to further add on that, over 40% of our revenue are from China market, in which most of them are from urban area and not rural. So we believe that most of our revenue are from major cities. And we see that these are the group of important customers who we need to really care about. And if they have some problem about their computer, we can fix it for them. And this can create the value amongst our brand, that eventually they will create a higher brand value for them, that when they think of computer, they will eventually think of Lenovo.
Yeah, so one of the objectives for the flagship strategy is to differentiate the brand from other brands within the mass market.
Just say that last piece again, please.
So one of the objectives is to differentiate Lenovo from other PC products in the mass market. That is why we're setting up a flagship.
I think it's a good strategy and it's very clear. My questions are more about the doability of the strategy, the actual tactics themselves, and how viable this is. And I have 2 or 3 questions in that regard. The retail business in China for good sites is notoriously expensive and very difficult to get it. Now, if you're Apple, you can go into a prime mall and command some significant space. So the question in my mind is that you really do need to build that sort of presence in order to deal with the primary landlords. There's plenty of secondary space, but there's never the primary space in the way that you need it. So it's not so much a question as an observation, but I just wonder if you want to respond to that in any way. That's the first point I want to make. And if not, you don't have to, but I'm just making that observation.
We understand your concern, but the thing is, since we trying to place ourselves among the mass markets, we believe that not having our places in the prime location wouldn't affect much, because Apple is more tied to the high-end image, so they need those locations. But ours, we believe that it would be much less important.
For Lenovo, that is right. But I think, of course, you may say it should be more competitive. But your primary thrust is on Lenovo, is that correct?
Yes.
For this strategy, okay. I have a couple more questions if Dr. Bowen and Reddy don't mind. You talk about the geographical expansion from China, but you didn't really go into any depth about this. So, we understand the primary focus in China, but then I think you said, and then you'd expand into the rest of the world after that. That doesn't really do justice to the rest of the world and to the various segments within the rest of the world. So perhaps you could use this opportunity to just expand a bit on what your geographical expansion strategy is. Where do you go after this, and how do you segment it and prioritize it?
You were mentioning about the flagship store recommendations.
Yes, that specifically, but maybe in general terms as well.
Maybe in general terms. For example, for the flagship store, we have came up with the criteria. For example, our criteria were the revenue contribution. We'll set up the flagship store on the area that have the revenue contribution the most to our current sales. And we'll also consider the degree of competition and also the customer exposure, whether by opening this flagship store, how much customer it will be exposed to and how much potential customer that can be exposed to our flagship store.
And
so, sorry.
Also, Lenovo has been building its distribution network throughout the entire world. Like they have recently partnered or acquired local distributors in Brazil, Russia, or Germany, or Japan.
This
So
is what I
we
was
believe
saying.
that opens up an opportunity for us to settle ourselves in those markets.
Okay, so you prioritize according to where that volume is in those relationships. Is that
Yes.
basically what you're saying? Okay. What do you think about the management team at Lenovo? Let's just expand on that and what you might do in that regard, please.
For my point of view, I think the management team are doing fine, but they're just kind of confused of the future, like how's the future is gonna be. But I think they should stress on what they have now, which is innovation, product development, and product quality that they have. So what they could do is maybe recruit some new talented, innovative staff that could continue this innovation for Lenovo, which is their core values of the brand.
And also, from the information, I see that the company has hired certain ex-CEOs, like ex-Acer CEO, and those personnel who like an experts in the PC industry. But the thing is, it is PC industry. So I believe that if they just employ those people, they're just going to be circulating within the same PC industry. So I agree with her that the company should be more open in terms of hiring the people who are more related into the smartphone industry, or the younger talents who have further insight in terms of how to develop the products to cater the customers.
Okay. You didn't refer to this in your presentation, if I'm not mistaken, but did you discuss this?
Yes.
Okay.
We consider the disruptive technology, how the nature of this industry are, like how the technology quickly die and new technology evolves. So that's why I say that Lenovo should focus on the new technology, maybe something that customer might not want it, but they may want it, just like Apple does.
And on top of that, actually on their strategy to protect and attack, they classify that in terms of protecting its market share in China mainland and to attack in other geographical area, right? But through our recommendation, we want them to think in terms of protecting their current product, the PC, the notebook, and attack into the new coming trends, the smartphone, and yeah.
Thank you.
If I heard you correctly, you're betting the future of your company on one thing, smartphone. Okay, so that I have two questions. Number one, right now the smartphone market is dominated by a couple large players, Apple, Samsung. They got a lot of the majority of the market already. Where do you see as an entry to grab market shares from these two? And my second question is, what if you guess wrong? What if there's something else that will come out in a few years and usurp the dominant position of smartphone as the delivery of its communication or information and dissemination?
For our first question, if I understand correctly, you're saying that Apple has more in terms of dominance and how we're going to.
But right now, those two companies, I don't know, maybe it's the third one, but those two companies grab a very large share of the entire smartphone market already. And you're coming in, you're betting the future of the company, the future growth of the company on smartphone, right? So how do you go about doing that? You like to have that yourself, but how do you attack Apple? How do you attack Samsung? Where's your entry?
One of our major competitiveness is that we can produce our product at a much lower cost. So we believe that that might be a possible way for us to enter this market by offering the products at an acceptable quality, because we also have a capable research and development team with more maybe lower price, because on Apple's they're more high-end, they charge premiums, lots of premiums, but our products will not be that high, so we're probably catering different segments of customers.
My understanding is both Market and Samsung produce a lot of the smartphones inside China. So I guess me and Fong would have a better understanding of the true market cost structure. But from to the outsider, it seems like they also have cheap labor, access to cheap labor in China. The entire infrastructure, the good manufacturing infrastructure there too. They are charging high prices because the market is willing to pay high prices for their product. So they're not competing on price. Now, if you want to compete on price, do you think that would be a sustainable strategy for you?
I mean, we're not competing on price, but we are positioning ourselves like along the side of Samsung. As you know, the Samsung price a little bit lower than Apple, and our core selling points that I think we could do is that where our phone could we connect to existing Lenovo products. So one of the things is that existing Lenovo user could have the potential of buying our phone because they can connect all the information. And we also consider of the growing industry for the smartphone user, and we think that by having high quality and high innovation, we could tap on that sector that are still on top.
So what we are focusing on is not just a lower price, but the value for money.
Also, currently Lenovo caters mass consumer markets, but we see for example, in China, there is an increase in the GDP and people are earning more and have a better quality of life. So Apple, they cater to people who have higher wealth to pay for their products, but we have the customer who are at a lower incomes. But then we build our base in that already. So we believe that when these customers become a potential payer in the future, we can leverage on that, gain advantage on that, because we're the one who's been with this group of customers since the beginning.
Yeah.
How about second question? Could you
You better re-ask it.
Could you repeat?
Maybe
Oh.
Could you repeat the
What if
sentence?
it gets wrong? What if smartphone is not the future?
I think it's as we mentioned. Currently, the profile for non-PC segment is only for 10%. So we believe that in the first few years, the investment wouldn't be a total shift in the revenue profile because 90% is still PCs. If the smartphone market guess is wrong, we believe that we will be able to sustain the damage. And also, we have our very capable technology and innovation teams. We believe that we'll be able to adapt quickly to the trend, to the new trend, if there is one.
Are you aware of any challenge for implementing the external storage system? Because even Apple, they have the iCloud, but it's not as commonly used as other features. So what would be the challenge just for this? And also any additional challenge in China?
We can allow 30-second answer.
So yes, one of the challenges would be setting up the infrastructure, and also ensuring that people will actually use the system. Would you like us to mitigate the address?
Anything about the privacy or leakage or hash?
Yeah, leakage as
Oh,
well.
sorry, we
but-
can't have another question.
Oh.
Time's up.
But
Thank you
yeah,
very
yeah, that would be a problem. But this is more targeted towards a home or an office where computers that are linked will just be those computers that are linked, that you choose to be linked with the system.
Internal connection.
Yeah, like an internal connection. So it won't be accessible through any Lenovo that is nearby. It will be just enclosed in the space that into the chosen computers that you are willing to link to the system.
Thank you very much.